All right. I hope you guys enjoyed those breakout sessions. I was dipping in and out of them. Some great information there. I hope you guys got some good information. There was some good panel questions. Continue to put your questions in the chat. Those are very helpful to us being able to answer the questions that you guys want. So, welcome to the second panel. It's 1 o'clock here. We are going to jump right into this, the patient advocate panel. To each their own. We're going to talk about 4 different dialysis panels today. So let's get into the people that are going to join me. First, my friend Dawn Edwards. Dawn, what's going on? It's a self-described chronic kidney disease warrior. This girl is a warrior. This is my girl here. With firsthand experience of every renal replacement modality, including PD, in-center dialysis, home dialysis, kidney transplant, rejection, ejection, whatever it is, she's been through it, right? She is currently waiting for her second transplant, and Dawn is a dedicated patient advocate with a lot of insight into the needs of people with CKD. She is also a resource to her community, sharing her story and education to people about the relationships between hypertension, diabetes, and kidney disease, especially in underserved communities. Dawn, so good to see you. So good to have you here.
Good to see you, baby. Love to you, smooches.
You already know. Thank you so much. Next, we have Katie Hellum. Katie Hellum has been on peritoneal dialysis for a little over a year and a half. She had a living donor transplant surgery just last month. Congratulations, Katie, on August 17th. Katie is 21 years old and currently attending school as a journalist and international security double major. I hear you. She currently works as a journalist for NPR and has plans to attend law school. Welcome, Katie. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Last but not least, we have Tamara Graham. Tamara Graham lives on beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. She has been on stage 4 kidney disease patients since 2015. She credits nutrition and exercise for the stability that has kept her from renal failure. She retired in 2018 and completed a nutrition diploma. And in her spare time, she teaches dance fitness and owns a Trinidadian food truck. What? Hold on now. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Welcome, everybody, to the panel. Give yourselves a hand. You all look amazing. Glad for having you here.
All right.
So I got a few questions for you guys. We're just going to make this a cool conversation and, kick it a little bit. I know one of you. I don't know the other two. I'm interested in getting to learn more. So briefly, I just want you guys to tell the audience about your dialysis journey and why you choose the path you do and what dialysis, you're in. Tamara, if you don't mind, we'd love to start with you, and then we'll work our way around the room.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the welcome. So basically my journey has been to try to avoid dialysis as long as I can. I'm sure the day is coming, but trying to just stave it off as long as possible. I found out, the seriousness, I guess, of my kidney disease when my GFR was 21. And it's kind of hovered between 18 and 25 ever since. So just kind of staying in that spot just above, 15 is where they kind of start to look at dialysis here anyways. I'm sure it's not that different everywhere. That's where I'm at, and it's been 8 years. So I'm hoping it'll be a while longer, but I've had my pre-transplant appointment and they expect, we might get another year or two.
So correct me if I'm wrong. It's Tamara, correct?
It's Tamara or Tamara, but that's
right, Tamara. Tamara. All right, I want to make sure I say your name right. So next time you be like, David, get it right. All right. So Katie, let me know about you as well.
Yeah. So I actually went into kidney failure very suddenly. I had a kidney disease called IgA nephropathy. And I was diagnosed when I was 18, right before I graduated. And I actually graduated during the pandemic, so I didn't really graduate, But right before I went off to college, they told me I had IgA nephropathy, and I had a really, really severe form of it. But they didn't suspect I'd go into kidney failure until maybe my mid-30s. But I actually went abroad with one of my professors. He invited me because they were wanting me to take some time to go to Cambridge for a little bit. And he took me just so I could be abroad for the first time because I'd actually never flown before. And so I came back home and I realized I wasn't feeling the best. And I thought maybe it was the jet lag. And I had a really bad migraine one morning. And I took my blood pressure and it was 240 over 180. And I weigh about maybe 90 pounds on a good day. So I thought that can't be right.
Mhm.
But then I started noticing that I was unable to feel my left arm, and I'm very familiar with the medical field, and I knew it was an emergency. So I took myself to the ER and had a massive seizure in their lobby and woke up 8 days later in intensive care. And they told me that I had gone into full kidney failure and I hadn't been on any medication other than prednisone. So as a result, my blood pressure had been insanely high for quite a while, and it had just gone unnoticed and unchecked. They told me that they could spare me maybe a month off of dialysis, but I needed to seriously consider it. A month later, I had another seizure because my sodium hit a 102, and it should never go below a 118. And after that, I spent another 6 days in intensive care, and they told me it was dialysis or die. And so I started peritoneal dialysis. I had the surgery to put it in, I believe the day before Thanksgiving of 2022. And then I started it December 4th of 2022. So I was almost a year. Today actually marks 2 years that I went into kidney failure. But of course, I got a transplant last month, which is why my face is a little puffy, because 20 milligrams of prednisone is hitting.
If that's puffy, I'm mad at you. So
but this is actually nothing. I was on 80 milligrams for the 3 months while they were preparing me for dialysis, trying to save me some time, and my iPhone didn't recognize me. My iPhone was like, I don't know who you are. But yeah, luckily the puffiness has not been this bad this time around.
honestly. And last but not least, my girl Dawn, I know some of your story, but I know everyone else might not know. And let us know why you choose the path you do as well.
Sure. David, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you all, and nice to meet you ladies. And I chose the path that I'm on currently because I just have to be in control. I found out that I was in renal failure when I was 22 years old. That was 33 years ago.
Mhm.
And I started out on in-center hemo. Did 3 years of that, and it just wasn't working out for me. Being in my 20s and being on in-center hemo, that just wasn't hitting it for me. So fortunately, I was introduced to peritoneal dialysis. I did that successfully for 10 years. I had time to spend with my daughter. I just had time to live my life on my own terms while I was still doing the more frequent dialysis, which really made me feel excellent. That was, one of my greatest experiences with kidney failure. Then I got called for a transplant. And then that was another exciting transition. And so I had my kidney transplant for 6 years. Nice to pee. Drank a lot of beer. And after the 6 years, my transplant rejected, and went back in center for a little bit. And then I was introduced to home hemodialysis, which I've been doing for about 12 years now. And, all of that just goes to say that you need different things at different times in your life. And I just had to move and shake with it. When one stops working, we jump into something else. And that's why I think it's always important for us as kidney patients to always have a plan B, and not even a plan B, a C and a D and a E. Because the longer you live, the more decisions that you're going to have to make about your care.
Right. So, I mean, we've all kind of had this story, you hear the story of kind of the crashing or knowing that you're going on dialysis and things of that nature. Once you get on it, you kind of have to navigate your own way through it. It's kind of like, there's no cookie cutter patient. I say that all the time. Your situation is going to be way different than mine. Your treatment is going to be way different than mine. And the way you handle medication, all those things are different. So, the theme for this whole thing this year is thriving on your own terms. And if you're anything like me, I love to do my own thing. I love to be in my own lane. I love to express myself the way I do. So what does that idea mean for each one of you? I want to hear a quick answer of what that means for you and how your personal choices around managing your kidney disease and dialysis helped you achieve that. Now, if that's a two-part question. The first one is, what does the idea mean to you? And your personal choices help you maintain that of thriving on your own terms. Let's start with you, Katie.
Yeah. So I was a little bit different. I'm still a little bit different. They call me the golden child at the transplant center as a funny little joke. And they did that at the dialysis center as well, because I'm the type of person where if you tell me to do something regarding my health, I will 100% do it. And I was the poster lame child in high school, and I'm still the poster lame child in college. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I go out and I dance, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I've always been very, very small, and I think during my evaluation, they found the one health issue I had, despite the kidney failure, wasn't even the high blood pressure. I had insanely high cholesterol. And they couldn't figure out why, and they finally realized it was just a genetic thing, but I think my cholesterol was like an 800. It was bad. They put me on some statin, and it naturally went down, and now I don't even take that anymore. So I had a lot of freedom when it came to my diet. I had a lot of freedom when it came to drinking whatever I wanted. I was allowed to have dark soda. I was allowed to eat as much sugar as I wanted, just as long as I was eating something, because I ended up losing quite a bit of weight. I went from 108 pounds to 86 pounds. So I lost quite a bit of weight. I'm actually at 86 right now because the transplant meds are wreaking havoc on my stomach. But I'm getting back up there and I'm feeling good now. So I had a lot of freedom, which I very much valued because I've always been someone who's incredibly independent. I like living on my own. I like living in a big city now. I live in Oklahoma City for college, and I absolutely love it. And I knew that if I wanted to maintain that sort of freedom, that I absolutely could not just go crazy and jeopardize my life after starting dialysis. So I naturally started doing things like cooking at home or looking at how much sodium was in my can of chicken noodle soup. Because even though my diet was still pretty liberal, I knew that I needed to keep my heart healthy, and I knew that I needed to keep myself not as fluid overloaded. And because of that, I was able to maintain the smallest amount of treatment as possible for my entire time I was on dialysis. I did 6 hours a night with just half of a yellow bag. Never anything more than that. I don't think they put anything more than 1,000 milliliters of fluid in me at a time. And so my doctor used to joke, he goes, well, if I prescribe her something, I know she's going to take it. And also because of that, I ended up getting my transplant evaluation process accelerated. So instead of taking the half year to get listed, it took me 3 months.
Nice. Tamara, I want to hear from you. How are you thriving on your own terms?
I would say I'm a little bit different than Katie. We're also in very different stages, but I'd say if they, anything that is recommended or they ask me to do, I'm that guy that's going to research the heck out of it and find out why. I need that why, and it needs to make a lot of sense to me. And I think my team has been really supportive, which is great. I mean, I don't want to sound like I don't do what I'm told. I do.
You don't listen. That's like
I very much listen, and I very much respect my team, and they're amazing. But they're also, in turn, very respectful. So if I have questions or say, okay, well, is there an alternative? They will offer that. So
nice.
I do have a slight high cholesterol, not on a statin yet. So we're trying some other things with the diet, nutrition, and whatnot. And I'm just like, I'm a bit of an information whore. I like to know all of the information, all of the research. Let me see studies and let me see what I can do to kind of stave off this end stage as long as I can, which I know is inevitable. But if I can, spend a few more months or another year without dialysis, then that's what I'll do. And there's not always time to go through every possible thing you can try in your appointment. You can get recommendations, but I think there's an onus on me to explore further. So I think that's what helped me thrive, and I feel empowered by having that knowledge. And I hear you, Katie, on the cooking too. Like before this journey, I didn't cook at all, and now I'm looking at those labels and understanding why the sodium isn't isn't for me, the high sodium, and seeing the consequences sometimes in my blood work of some of the choices I've made. So I think just being really aware and being really educated has been what has helped me thrive.
Yeah, education is power, like they say, and being proactive in your health. I actually want to go to a question from the chat here. Dawn, I want to hear from you on this. Peggy in the chat said, I've been doing dialysis almost 18 years in December, thinking of doing home dialysis, but I'm afraid of it and running out of options. What would our panelists say to her about overcoming her fears? And what kind of information can we both give her? Dawn, I'll let you answer first, and I'll probably jump in behind you after that. You're on mute, Dawn. Make sure you take off your mute.
Yeah,
There you go.
thanks. Anytime you look into something new or something different, of course you're going to be scared. It's different. It's something that you've never done before. But in order for you to be empowered, in order for you to be successful, in order for you to live the kind of life that you want to live, I always say you just got to jump. And that's the way that I've pretty much lived my life. When I was presented with my treatment options, of course, I was nervous about putting in my own needles. I was nervous about the PD catheter going in. I was nervous about getting a transplant. But you know what? If you stay where you are, you'll never know what opportunities are available to you. So just in short, I would say, don't be afraid. Jump. If it's something that you're thinking about doing and you really feel passionately about it being something that you want to do, just go ahead and jump. And hey, if you don't like it, then you go back and you try something else. That's the way it works in life. When you fall off the bicycle, you get up and you get right back on there.
I think the great part too is being grateful about having these options, right? Being able to know that we can do dialysis or wherever to stay and maintain in between transplants. And when there's a lot of diseases out there that don't have those type of choices to be able to make to keep you here and sustain you for the time until you get another transplant and get another organ. Also too, if you just like Dawn says, to jump, and also like other panelists have said, do your research. Look into those things. Ask the questions to the doctors. Ask the questions to the social worker. No question is dumb. Ask those questions, because at the end of the day, it's you putting those needles in. It's you having to sit there every other day for the hours that you're sitting there, and it's your body that's going through it. So just educate yourself. Be proactive with yourself, and don't be afraid. And like Dawn said, if it doesn't work, you can leave it. Another question was, how many days and how many hours on HHD? For me, I'm doing every other day at 3 hours and 30 minutes. Now, every patient is going to have a different time length, and every patient is going to have a different prescription. So mine may be totally different from yours. Yours may be less than mine. You may need only 3 days a week, or you may need only 3 hours. I know someone saying they only did 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I was extremely jealous when they said that. But, every patient is going to do what's best for their body.
Exactly.
Go ahead if you want to implement on that too.
Yeah, for me, I'm a HHD patient, like I said, and I chose to do nocturnal dialysis. So I do my treatment while I sleep, because I need to be up moving and shaking during the day. So I do my treatments every other day, and I do about 5.5 hours. That varies. And I have a great care team that works with me so that dialysis fits into my life. I want to work, I want to travel, and make my dialysis schedule fit. So on some days I may do a short treatment, if because I'm busy, and then other nights, I'll go ahead and do my long treatment. But everybody's
the option.
different.
Yep, everybody's different. So I want to ask you guys a question. How do you manage the emotional aspect of living with kidney disease and dialysis? Now, the mental health aspect is rarely talked about in our treatments. And, I talked about another panel, how it was kind of like a mental issue, like going into dialysis, getting ready to do dialysis, just getting ready to put the needles in. Like there's this trauma there. What are your guys' aspects on the emotional aspect? Do you have routines at all when you do your treatments? And also the support network and coping strategies, what are some that you can rely on? If you can answer one of those questions out of the three, if you need me to ask them again, I will. But first, what's the emotional aspect of living with the disease? Anyone could jump in here.
I know for me, um, I was severely depressed, at when I first started dialysis. I was scared, and my family was my support system at that time. Back in the 90s, we didn't talk about mental health. You didn't go to the psychiatrist or
Mhm.
psychologist. In the African American community, what goes on at home stays at home, so you don't do the mental health thing. But as I got older, I realized that there were times that I needed help, and I got discouraged from doing dialysis. I got tired. And, doing dialysis or having kidney disease is full of little traumas, lots of little traumas. And you have to find ways to deal with them. Sometimes it was just putting on some good old oldies and dancing around the living room for me.
Mhm.
At other times it was going out and taking a long drive. And other times it was about sitting in a chair across from the psychiatrist and talking about my issues and getting me a nice little pill so that I
Mhm.
can get me some sleep at night. You know, I'm just keeping it a buck
Keeping it
with you.
real. Yep.
Sometimes that's what you need. So you can't be afraid of, going to sit down and talk to somebody
Hmm.
or, whatever it is that works for you. But my thing is just don't stay stuck.
Hmm.
Don't let
Keep
yourself
moving.
stay stuck. Keep moving.
Tamara, can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to the part about the emotions around dialysis other than to say it's something that really scares me.
Hmm.
And so I really love actually hearing from Dawn and Katie about their experiences. So thank you.
Yes.
And yourself. And yourself.
Hey, we all trying to find our way, our personal ways through it. Every day is a battle. I live by this thing called wins only, where I just soon as I open my eyes, I feel like I've won already. Because I remember at a certain point in my life, I felt like I wasn't gonna wake up the next day. I would stay up all night because I didn't want to sleep and not wake up. Like that was for the first year of my life. So it was a really deep place for me. But I had to make a decision and come to a crossroad. I'm either gonna fight this thing
Right. Or
and live this life, or I'm gonna let it beat me. And I'm just not. I'm a very competitive. I'm a very competitive person. So it was hard for me to let anything beat me. So that's where I am now. Katie, I do want to ask you this. John in the chat had a question for you particularly. Did you do daily exchanges on PD, or did you do nocturnal PD?
Sorry, I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm like really pasty. I look really pasty, but my dad is full blood Native American. I live on a
Mhm.
reservation, and so people come like speeding past my house. So if you guys hear motorcycles, that's what's going on right now.
It's all
Um,
right.
but I did nocturnal PD because I was a full-time college student and I also worked for a radio station. I was the All Things Considered host for the Oklahoma, or I still am. I shouldn't say I still am. So and also my doctor didn't give me the option. My doctor watched me grow up and was like, "You're going to do it at 9 because I know how you are." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay,
Hmm.
thanks." So I did nocturnal PD and I did it on the machine. In fact, I have not returned the machine and she sits in my corner. So I need to schedule to do that.
It
But
gets hard to return the routine sometimes. I cried when they came and took my machine one time, so
we'll see.
I get it.
So I'm so close to my healthcare team. And like tomorrow you talked about being like a research whore. I'm the exact same way. It was so bad that my hospital was like, Katie, you're making us obsolete because anytime we tell you to do something, you're like, oh yeah, it's because my blood lipid level is this high. They're like, stop, don't do that. They're like, either go to med school or just stop. They're like, you're
Mhm.
stressing yourself out doing that. And since I'm really close to them that way, I have all their personal phone numbers and I've been getting text messages from my doctors like, when are you going to come by and drop off your machine so I can say goodbye to you? And I'm like,
Mhm.
one day at a time.
Yeah, one
One
day
day
at
at
a
a time.
time.
Like
Honestly,
I just started walking again.
I honestly, and it's funny you say that. I know Don, you're ready to kick your machine out your house. Me, when they came and got mine, I was a little, it was like a lifeline for such a long time. It was a little hard for me. But so Tamara, I have a question for you from the chat. Stephen wants to know, what's your GFR and how long have you been able to maintain that?
My GFR is currently 22. It was as low as 18 in February of this year and once in 2019. So that's the lowest it's been is 18, but it usually hovers around 22. And that was as recent as last week. So it's been 8 years, August of 2015. Is that 8? Yeah. Yeah, August of 2015, it was at 21. And so I've been able to keep it stable. I credit nutrition and exercise. That doesn't mean I do everything right and that I don't, have a lot of challenges with blood pressure, sodium, potassium, cholesterol, all the things.
As we all do, of course.
Yeah. And it's, it's this, when you talk about like mental health, it's like this roller coaster because, 1 month it's going to be, it's great. Wow. Yay. This is good. And then the next month it's awful. And it's just, you don't know when that day is going to be that it goes and keeps going. And so I think that's the hard part is being at this stage. It's a very fortunate place to be, to not have to be on dialysis, but it's also a very, like transitional stage. So you're kind of in this limbo of, okay, well, when is it going to happen? I had a donor, 6 years ago who is not a donor, doesn't want to be a donor anymore. So had things failed at that time, I would have had my transplant. Now I don't have a donor. So it's just, it's a very strange stage to be at.
The limbo. Yeah, the middle stages.
Even though it seems great, it's not always great, but I feel very fortunate.
Well, guys, we only have a couple minutes left, and I would hate to leave without giving the audience a little something. I love to leave them with gifts. So before we go, your quickest answers as possible, please. Any last pieces of advice for the audience? We can start with Dawn.
Last pieces of advice. Your life is in your own hands. Be in control, be empowered, educate yourself, read everything, ask questions about things. There are so many resources available to you nowadays that there's no reason for you not to know your treatment options. Learn how to be your own boss. I'm a boss. I am the boss when it comes to my health and taking care of myself. And that's because I took the time and I made it a priority to learn about this kidney disease thing and to be the master of it. And you can be the master of it too. Just don't give up. Don't be afraid. Just go ahead and jump and live your life on your own terms.
Thank you. Katie, give me something real quick for the people.
Yeah. I say develop a close relationship with your healthcare team. I received a lot of shortcuts because of that. And like I said, I've had 2 nephrologists who watched me grow up basically, and they want to attend my graduation. They gave me their blessings when they found out I was going to law school, and even my transplant team and I are very close now. I always say one of my favorite quotes to say is, you can't change what's happened to you, but you can change how you relate to it. And that makes a world of difference. I quite literally expected myself to die every single day of September of 2022 or 2021. But once you kind of get out of that fog, it's actually, you realize just how good life is on the other side. I felt great on dialysis, and I'm finally feeling good post-surgery. And now I'm antsy to get back into school in October, and I'm antsy to start driving again. Yeah, so.
That's amazing. And congratulations again. Tamara, let's take us out of here with something, please.
All right. I agree with Katie. I am very close to my team as well. I do a lot of volunteer work with BC Renal and Kidney Foundation. And I find that keeps me aware of things that are going on, always keeps me current, keeps me close to my team. And it also, keeps me in tune with other kidney patients. So that's one thing. And then the last thing is just find the things that light you up and do them. Life is not over. Don't give up. Find those things and do them. They might be different things than when you were more able, but there's things. Find them.
Ladies, I want to thank you so much for your taking the time to kick it with me here, answer some questions, have some good conversations. I want to thank all our panelists so much for coming, guys, and please enjoy the rest of the event. Informative dialogue. I love this so much. So the next part of our program, ladies and gentlemen, is about 25 minutes of free time to navigate the expo booths, talking to a patient care representative, connect directly with device manufacturers, and even consider your next career move as a clinical professional. But first, I want to show you how this works. So I'm kicking it over to past me, myself in the quantum realm, to walk through this section of the platform. So take it away, David Rush, and I'll see you guys back in a little bit. Peace. You're looking good today, I might add. Hello again, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the event so